Thanks very much for tuning in to News 9. I'm Nabila Jamal, right here on Unmissable. I take you through news from India and across the globe. And of course, the biggest Southeast Asia story is from Nepal. You have a new Prime Minister, an interim one, who's taken over. Sushila Karki has just sworn in as the Prime Minister of Nepal. She's a choice of the Gen Z. We will take you through that. And of course, in our top story on Deep Dive, Ozempic. Lawsuits worth $2 billion have been filed against Ozempic, claiming that the company has not warned its people about the side effects of this weight loss drug. We will delve into that. And finally, in our top story, day to night, the Congress mocking Prime Minister's mother yet again. In Bihar, an AI video that the Congress has put out where Prime Minister Modi's mother in that AI video is taunting the Prime Minister. So BJP says this is all lines crossed. As always, I take you through the headlines first. Former Chief Justice Sushila Karki set to head Nepal's interim government after dissolution of House of Representatives. President Podel bows to pressure from youth protesters and political leaders to finalize the appointment. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Manipur. He will be in Churachandpur tomorrow. This will be his first visit, first trip since violence claimed 200 plus lives in 2023. In fact, he will be meeting internally displaced persons amid opposition attacks over his long absence from Manipur all this while. Rahul Gandhi dismisses Prime Minister Modi's Manipur visit as no big deal. Says Manipur has been in trouble for a long time now and Prime Minister has decided to go there now, questioning his absence all this while. Omar Khalid, the activist, approaches the Supreme Court challenging the Delhi High Court order rejecting his bail in the 2020 Delhi riots case. As we see here, in fact, 9 accused, including Shajil Imam, denied bail under UAPA and IPC charges linked to Delhi riots that killed 53 and injured over 700. Omar Khalid now reaching the top court for bail. Supreme Court asks why firecracker ban applies only to Delhi NCR region. Says any ban should apply pan-India, emphasizing the right to pollution-free environment nationwide. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah announces fresh caste census from September 22nd to October 7th. Certainly huge exercise to cover 7 crore people across 2 crore households, as 2015 caste census was not accepted. So the second round now that's going to be carried out. Remember, already Congress government there receiving a lot of heat for money spent on caste census drives. And Karnataka government has officially capped movie ticket prices at 200. Excluding taxes, we hear, across the state's theatres and multiplexes. Exemption granted to premium screens under 75 seats. The move aims at making cinema more accessible. After Bihar, Kerala is all set to implement the special intensive revision drive of the electoral roll, SIR. Remember, Kerala is going to elections in 2026 and now you have the Election Commission deciding to carry out SIR in Kerala. Kerala, of course, at this point opposing this. Kerala Chief Electoral Officer Dr. Ratan Kelkar confirms only ineligible names are going to be struck off. US President says suspect in conservative activist Charlie Kirk killing at Utah University is in custody. Credits the minister and father for helping the police. Hopes for death penalty if convicted. Right, let me start with Nepal and tell our viewers here that Nepal now has a new Prime Minister. It's Sushila Karki. Nepal has turned a historic page. Eminent jurist, the one and only lady judge of the top court in Nepal. She's now taken over as the Prime Minister of Nepal. Maybe interim, but well, she has sworn in. Eminent jurist Sushila Karki has been sworn in as the country's interim Prime Minister, the first woman ever to hold the post. Her appointment comes after Gen Z-led protests that shook Nepal, toppling the KPA Oli Sharma government and forcing Nepal's entrenched political order to step aside. The youth uprising, triggered by a ban on social media and fueled by years of anger over corruption, left more than 30 people dead and over 1,000 injured. Initially, names like Kathmandu Mayor Balendra Shah Balan and energy reformer Gulman Gaising were actually discussed. Gulman Gaising was seemingly looking like the man who would be taking over as the interim head, but it seems like Sushila finally has stepped forward after initially resisting. Now she's become the unanimous choice by the Gen Z. But after marathon talks, we understand the Gen Z leaders, President Ramchandra Podel and Nepal's top military brass, consensus formed around Karki. At 73, she is no stranger to breaking barriers. Karki was Nepal's first female Chief Justice, celebrated for her tough anti-corruption stand. Lawmakers once tried to impeach her, but she completed her term and became a symbol of integrity. Now, as Prime Minister, she says that her mission is simple. She wants to guide Nepal into fresh elections within 6 to 12 months and to restore stability after weeks of turmoil. Born in Biratnagar, educated in Nepal and in India, we hear. Karki's journey from lawyer to Chief Justice and now to the nation's top executive marks an extraordinary career for herself. Nepal's relentless young generation. Her rise is more than symbolic for them. It is their demand for clean politics finally finding a face. So Karki, in a way, is a face of a clean and fair Nepal that the Gen Z want to see for themselves. From chaos to consensus, Sushila Karki now leads Nepal into its next chapter. So it's huge. There's also controversy around Karki's husband, who he was, what he indulged in the past. We're going to try and get our panelists to give us a little sense of Sushila Karki's position now as the interim Prime Minister of Nepal. Is she fully eligible? Well, of course, India has a lot of interest in the neighboring country. The turmoil there does certainly affect the mood along the borders with us. Sachin Tumirsina, the youth leader, Nepali Congress Party, live from Kathmandu, joining me. Thank you very much. We also have Abhishek Basinyat, economist and social activist, live from Kathmandu, and Sagun Sundar Lawati, leader, RPP, live from Kathmandu. Thank you, all of you. Let me start with Sachin. Your take, Sachin, with Sushila Karki taking over as the interim Prime Minister. First, there was Gai Singh's name. It almost was concluded yesterday. There was a lot of talk around who is Gai Singh, and that news actually grabbed global headlines, that Gai Singh was the one who was going to be taking over. And now there was a sudden change in decision, with Gen Z deciding finally that Karki was a better choice for this. What do you think, and why do you think this change has happened? We're in fact waiting for some visuals of their swearing in to come, but we hear she's already sworn in. So you have a new Prime Minister, Sushila Karki.
Well, good evening to all your viewers, and yes, we've had this historic change, and in 5 days we've an unprecedented political situation that we have here. You see, the older parties, including my party, were all on back foot, and there was a massive demand because of the massive protest by the Gen Z, and they demanded a few points, out of which one demand was to actually have a new prime minister in Sushila Karki, and Kulman Gising was also very popular. He was also very popular, but the point is, initially Balin Shah supported him. Sushila Karki was, I think, trusted more because she has this ease and experience, and she also knows Nepal's system better. I think that's also one reason. And talking from my party's perspective, I think the best thing for us is the constitution is somewhat got put into holds, but I think it can still be stitched later. The immediate political confusion has now ended. And I wish this government under Sushila Karki delivers what it's supposed to. It's supposed to do an election in 6 months, and the older parties like us will go back to our people, will work hard, will reinvent ourselves, and get ready for the election. For now, I wish them all the best.
Basinyat, simple question. Gen Z, I would presume, would want someone younger. At least that's what we thought, that Balen would be someone that they would, reckon with. They would relate to better than Karki. But it's a surprising choice by Gen Z. 73-year-old Karki, who has a clean record by and large, but not too sure of a husband. But nonetheless, Gen Z made that pick over Balen. What happened there? And what are Gen Z's demands here?
Thank you, Nabila. Namaste, everyone. I actually don't think the choice of Sushila Karki is a big surprise. In fact, I think she has been the favorite all along, Gen Z's favorite all along. And the main reason for that is Sushila Karki has been a campaigner, anti-corruption campaigner and good governance campaigner, even, I believe throughout her career, but particularly while she was the Chief Justice. I think she did take some very strong decisions against corruption. And if I'm not mistaken, I think she was even booted out of office for these reasons. So she has that record. So Gen Z's clear favorite all along was Sushila Karki. Balen kind of stepped out early in the race based on information available to me. Why? I'm not sure. But having said that, it's not something I regret too much, because Balen, while he has proven to be a vigorous, mayor, he's also unpredictable and can be kind of autocratic. So for this moment, you would need someone with more maturity, more experience, who can bring different sides of Nepal together and pull together that way. So I'm not sure Balen would have been a great choice from that perspective. Gising, I understand Gising's name came up because at one point sometime yesterday, Sushila Karki, it seems, refused to pick up on that offer to become PM.
Yes. Yeah.
And when she refused, that's when I think Gising became the next favorite. And her reason for refusal, as I understand it, was that the president, Mr. Ramchandra Paudel, was stuck on some constitutional niceties. So the issue right now is, first of all, should we even dissolve parliament? Should we maintain this constitution, or should there be a new some kind of an interim constitution? How the process? How exactly do we go forward? And I believe the president was initially interested in maintaining the parliament as opposed to dissolving it. And also, I've heard, again, unverified news, social media kind of stuff, that the president wanted to limit Sushila Karki's ability to do anti-corruption investigations, right? So I believe it was for this reason she backed out and decided not to pick up on Gen Z's offer of becoming the interim PM. And for that reason, Gising may have been pushed up. But it seems
my question, and of course a lot of us question, Sushila Karki's husband was involved in a plane hijacking case 52 years ago. Would you want to elaborate a little more and maybe give us a sense on what happened at that point? She had no... ultimately, it was not her, it was her husband, but yet, does this cast a shadow?
Sorry.
Does it cast a shadow on her credibility?
Depends, I suppose, on which faction you are in Nepal. But it was a long time ago in the panchayat regime. That was the autocratic partyless system under the king, absolute rule of the king. So it seems he was part of Girija Prasad Koirala's group to fight against the monarchy. So that was a long time ago. I mean, we've moved on since then. 1990, we already had constitutional monarchy with a multi-party democracy. So I'm not sure to the current generation that's a big hang up. Some people who are, pro-monarchists may feel a little uncomfortable about Karki, Sushila Karki, because given her husband's participation, presumably Sushila Karki herself might also have more Republican sentiments, and some pro-monarchist right side may be a little bit uncomfortable about that. But having said that, I mean, the big achievement right now is, through marathon negotiations, we do have an interim government, and the dilly-dallying and the delay in announcing an interim government was making a lot of Nepalis very nervous and uncomfortable, right? Because there was some level of the old parties trying to reassert themselves, and for example, the demand for not dissolving parliament was worrying to I think the revolutionaries as well as the general population, because that would have made it easier for the powers that be, the status quoists, if you like, powers to reassert themselves, right, and then kind of thwart the change or limit the extent of the transformation. Equally, there were also talks about this delay and power vacuum, being exploited by the rightists or pro-monarchists to kind of revive the monarchy. And then, of course, there was fear that international elements then could start playing all sorts of games to suit their interests, and in that game, Nepalese interests would, of course, get diluted. So it's been sworn in. I mean, it's difficult at times like this to satisfy all sides. There can't possibly be a perfect candidate. But I think
my worry is that you just said that international elements could interfere. Maybe Sagun could give us. Sagun Sundar, would you want to comment on that? Has there been international elements interfering into Nepal protests? And why, may I ask, some of the Indian journalists have been assaulted. What is this anger towards Indian journalists?
I don't know exactly, but I sense sometimes there are facts are not properly reported, maybe, or maybe sometimes there is efforts to report early on. Maybe I also saw those incidents in the social media. But apart from that, I think we have a historic moment now. We have the first woman prime minister, who also happened to be, incidentally, the first woman chief justice in Nepal. And as we hear, as per the reports, after the swearing in, there'll be a first meeting of the cabinet, and it's scheduled to hold its first cabinet meeting and recommend a dissolution of the House of Representatives, the Parliament, and also maybe, as we hear, there'll be the cabinet will also decide on holding inquiry into large corruption cases, as well as the killings and atrocities that we witnessed during the agitation. And also, I think the cabinet or the new interim government will also announce a new date for polls. Those are the decisions that the new cabinet would take. That's what is expected. And in a few days to come by, I believe, because that is one of the demands of the Gen Z protest, that they'll look forward to have a revision of the constitution, and maybe they'll devise some ways or a format to rewrite the constitution. One thing is clear after this change: the main hegemony of leaders like Sher Bahadur Deuba, Pushpa Kamal Dal, and also KP Sharma Oli, who was the prime minister till a few days back.
Yeah,
they've been holding the leadership positions in the government and also in the respective parties since for over 30-35 years. And the prime minister's chair of the responsibility of the prime minister was actually divided, share among the three leaders. It was like a musical chair, and even the younger generation in their respective parties could not, aspire to take leadership roles, lead the party. So I think that's broken down. I think so. We have a historic.
So your parliament has been fully dissolved elections are going to happen when? Give us a little clarity on what next for you.
No. The cabinet, the interim cabinet will recommend. That's what, as per the reports, the first meeting will recommend dissolution of the parliament, and the president will endorse that. So that was the sticking point so far between how to take this forward. How to go about.
So now you're
dissolution
going to
of the
have an
parliament.
interim cabinet as well. Whatever that
Yes.
stood all this while has been dissolved.
Yes.
Sachin, you want to come in on that?
We'll have an interim cabinet, and we'll have I think the elected local governments will continue, as well as the provincial government will continue, and I think we'll still continue to have the National Assembly of the upper house.
Okay.
But I think the House of Representatives, the lower house, will be dissolved.
Okay. If you can have
That was
some
the bonus. That was the-
images of Sushila Karki. Sachin, if you can tell us, Sushila Karki is now the only one standing on the top of that interim pyramid. Tell us a little more on who's going to be aiding her, who's going to be this newly formed interim cabinet. Who are these people? Is it going to be part of the Gen Z? They're all 30 and below. The age group is very young. Would you believe that this, among the Gen Z itself, there's going to be people picked to form the interim cabinet as well?
Well, there are certain names floating. And few who have already been recognized in the Nepali society. If you see, there is a lot of talk of Om Prakash Aryal, who is a renowned lawyer himself, is an advocate. There have been talks of Anand Sharma, former army man. He was also my teacher. There have been also talks of Kulman Gising joining in. So there are plenty. There are multiple talks going on. There are rumors. We don't know how true they are. So it's just difficult to say from now. But Gen Z, I think, would certainly have somebody from their side as well. One thing I felt is after some time of this protest, the Gen Z leadership also realized that they lack that experience to run the government. Sudan Gurung was pretty vocal about it in his press conference. When he had a press conference yesterday, he said that, we thought of scrapping the constitution completely, but then we got to know of late that constitution is actually required in a country to hold it together. So that's the kind of understanding that Gen Z has, shown in the last few hours and days. What I think is Sushila Karki, I think, is a good choice for us also, because Durga Subedi, her husband, whom you mentioned earlier, was involved in that plane hijack. But that hijack is not taken as a sign of offense anymore. It's taken more as a, it's an example of pride in Nepal's democratic discourse. At least that was what was taught to us for a long, long time. And I think his autobiography is also named after that hijack. So I don't think that will matter to any of the Gen Zs
you
or
look at
anybody
it
else.
as freedom struggle.
It is, yes. It's seen as freedom struggle against an authoritarian panchayat system led by the king of Nepal.
Okay.
It was King Birendra, I believe. So it's taken that way, and Sushila Karki has come a long way after that. She also had a little experience of working with my party's students' wing. In her early days, she also worked with my party's greatest leader, BP Koirala. She has written that in her autobiography, how she was influenced by the great man. So, yeah, I think even for the establishment, Sushila Karki was an easy name to understand, if the political establishment by which I meant. And let's see how things unfold. But for now, I think we are in decent hands.
Okay, well, congratulations. You have an interim prime minister. Sachin, would you tell us why Indian journalists are getting assaulted? I could have played those visuals out for you if we had it already. But what's this rage? After KP Sharma Oli has resigned, things are settled, but it seems like the anger on the streets is still alive. And Indian journalists are bearing the brunt for it.
First up, I'd like to apologize from my side. This should not happen to journalists of any country. So, there will be journalists that you agree with and disagree with. I mean, this is something that's going inside our country as well. This populist front that started discrediting the journalists, and that's the reason why so many big houses have been burned down in Nepal. I apologize from my country's side, representing Nepal, and see. I mean, there are multiple ideas that floats around. There is an Indian anti-Indian sentiment
We're
as
playing
well.
that out for our
Yes.
viewers. It's a Republic channel reporter who was assaulted. And, we stand by the journalist in solidarity. That's not right. He shouldn't have been treated like that. So which is what I'm asking, this anger towards journalists in general or Indian journalists. I just want clarity on that.
No, I mean they have problem with Nepali journalists as well, and
Okay.
if that's Republic TV, perhaps a little bit of
Yeah.
anger might also have been against Arnab Goswami, because the last time when we had a debate where we're discussing maps, I think our speakers were a little mistreated. That's what I feel. But anyways, I mean these things are very sad, and we apologize. It should not be in any case, and I hope sense prevails from tomorrow. I'm sorry. We apologize to all the Indian journalists.
All right,
Nabila, can I chime in on this?
Yeah, Abhishek, I was just about coming to you.
I'm with Sachin. These kind of things, of course, shouldn't happen, and I apologize for something like this. But just something almost anecdotal, if you will. This reminded me of 10 years back during the big Nepali earthquake, and at that time too, there were a lot of journalists, particularly Indian journalists, who descended into Nepal, and they were so enthusiastic, I suppose, in doing their job, that they were really covering the earthquake with great fervor. But I think what sometimes journalists may miss is, in their interest in doing their duty and they're carrying out their professional duty, they might forget that the people who are suffering are in a different emotional state. And that happened at the earthquake. People were suffering, and then you had journalists like really peeping into their homes and, how are you? I mean, people are dying, and it's like, what do you feel? How are you? Questions like this. And that really annoyed people. And there was a small movement saying, Indian journalists go back, something to that effect. So I think maybe this is also, a lack of understanding of the emotional temperature.
Yeah, sure enough. When emotions are running high, anything can be a trigger.
Right.
And
not to
as
defend
Sachin
it,
apologized,
not to defend
then
such actions,
I think it's my duty also from the journalist fraternity to apologize for jari reporting at times. Well, I agree that this could slip out of hand when you're excited and in whatever emotion running through a journalist on the ground. You never know what they say. They could be bearing the brunt for it. But yet, violence is not the answer for it. So condemning the violence at the same time. But Abhishek, a final word as we're looking at a new interim prime minister taking over. Sushila Karki is now there. You have an interim cabinet that you're going to be roping in. Who are these people? How, on what basis and grounds, parameters are you going to be selecting them? And there was demands for a constitution change. I'm just saying, drawing parallels to India, if at all there was anything like this, a constitution change in India is blasphemous in every sense, because constitution here is sacrosanct. Why is it not the same there in Nepal? Are you not proud of your constitution?
Because the constitutional change was, there is a precedent for it. So back in what we call Jana Andolon 2006, when the previous revolution, when the monarchy autocratic monarchy was removed, and this new kind of, and the Maoists were mainstreamed, that is how that peace process went forward. So the previous constitution of 1990 was suspended, scrapped, and an interim constitution was put in place until the Constituent Assembly finally drafted the final constitution, which is the current constitution in 2015. So there is a precedent, and I think a new constitution would just ease things for the interim government to take forward its agenda, right? Whereas the old sticking with the old constitution led to all these questions, complications about, then do we dissolve parliament or not, or who authorizes this, and who, blah blah blah. So I think having the old constitution for procedural issues was complicated, and like I said, we have a precedent of having an interim constitution to mark a new beginning, so to speak. So I don't think that is a senseless demand. But the one thing I would like to also, I think, is worth noting through the last few days is I think we have to doff our hats to the Nepal army, who I think have played quite a unique role, unexpected of an army, because an army, you just think soldiers, you go to war and battle and blah blah blah. But the role they've had to play the past few days is, of course, contain the disturbances and the arsonists and looters and stuff, which they have managed to do. Good on them. But also to mediate at a time of intense nervousness and high emotions, and cobble together Gen Z, a young group, the old parties, the general population, the pro-monarchist
Abhishek,
forces,
for the
and
moment,
then
I'm going to alert our viewers that these are live images that we are playing of Sushila Karki taking over as the interim Prime Minister of Nepal. These were images that we were waiting for. She's already been sworn in, and here you have it. She's officially taken over as the Prime Minister of Nepal. Interim, yes, but, well, she is the Prime Minister of a country that was torn apart by a civil unrest. And now you have some semblance. We're looking at, hopefully, law and order coming into play post this swearing in. So Nepal now finally looking at nerves calming down with a new Prime Minister being selected, and likely elections in Nepal could happen 6 months later, but not too sure how long that would take. But nonetheless, at least there is some head of government now. Abhishek and maybe Sagun Sundar, the visuals here, live visuals of Sushila Karki, who's just sworn in as the Prime Minister. Give us a little sense on who are the people who formulated this selection and oath taking. Who are the people that we see on our screens? Would you be able to identify them?
Bhattrai and the newly sworn in Prime Minister herself there, and we have the President, Vice President there, and Speaker. I think I saw him, Speaker of the House, and also members of the diplomatic corps, ambassadors. This is the Chinese ambassador in front of the Prime Minister right now, and advisor of the President and other officials. That's what I see so far. And also Chief of the Army Staff.
Okay, that's great. So this is in complete consensus with all stakeholders. Even though the parliament has been dissolved, there's no more KP Sharma Oli government that remains. You still have the Vice President, the President, and the Army Chief who are facilitating this entire handover process.
It's very unconventional times for us.
Yeah.
And Army, like Abhishek said, coordinating and facilitating the unconventional, unseen development so far. It's remarkable that we now have a new government, and we should be hopeful that there'll be a wide-scale investigation and efforts to wipe out corruption, which has been sort of an epidemic in our society. It's ingrained in the system, so we have to do away with that. That was one of the main demands of the Gen Z movement. Let's see how it goes, and of course we can have probably, I don't know how will the government take this forward, interim government. I think it'll be some time before they officially decide on rewriting the constitution. If they do, I think we'll have a process forward. I think all sides of the society, the country, all views should be included. There were certain reservations against the past constitution, even the peace process for that matter. Our violent conflict was a tripartite, in the sense the palace and the Maoist and the parliamentary forces were the three actors in the conflict, but one of the main key stakeholders, the palace or the monarchy as such, was left out in the peace process. I think there's a big concern on that, and if we take this forward, it'll be better for the country and the society and the peace for that matter, even for democracy, if we could have all sides, all opinions, all institutions included in the new polity, or in new efforts to have a democratic setup in the country. Let's see how it goes. We are very hopeful. for a better future, corruption-free future for us.
I really hope to see some peace in Nepal. Huge number of Indian tourists who usually come into Nepal. Many of them were stranded, some of them attacked. So we're obviously worrying for our Indian citizens as well. And as a neighbor, we wish you well, right? Abhishek, a final word on the visuals you see there. You have a new Prime Minister who's just sworn in.
I think this is great to see. It's been a good few days of intense tension and uncertainty and not knowing which way things will go. So I think we've managed to come up with something that is reasonably acceptable to all sides. Hopefully it will hold together. Hopefully the cabinet will support Sushila Karki and we will have a fresh mandate in time, which is 6 months max, I hope 1 year. The last constitution took us like upwards of 7, 8 years to draft a new, the final constitution. So I really hope we don't go that way. And just to pick up on what Mr. Sagun Lavati said, yes, I think now that we have this open moment, this chance to imagine our country, I think the mistakes from the past have to be corrected this time. And one of them probably was that the last peace process in 2006 failed to take into consideration, failed to include one of the power centers of the country, which was the monarchy, right? So back then, the peace process happened between the parties, the Maoists, and, well, I don't know who else, because, it was the monarchy was the other side of that conflict, if you will, and they were not part of the peace deal. So hopefully we can now find a way for all Nepalese to come together and find ways to accept each other and live together in peace and harmony.
Fabulous. Sachin, as I'm really short on time, 30 seconds.
All right, so opposing the two gentlemen's view, I think there's no space for monarchy anymore because we still have a president, so you can't have two head of states. And we formed this constitution through a constitutional assembly process. So I'm against it, and we have a big force against it. So I don't see there's a chance for it, but the other things, corruption-free, everything, we are with the Gen Z community. And apart from that, I hope this constitution survives and we have brighter days ahead.
Yeah, well, hope your wish comes true and you stay on track and not go back to a monarchy. I'm not too sure if that was a better time. I don't have time, Sagun, but what do you have to say?
This exclusionary measures actually, excluding certain views in the parliament or in the constitution was actually what failed us, I think. So we should be open for the people to decide, the process to decide.
All right. It's people's wish. Let's just hope it doesn't come to this extreme where people's wish is never heard and then they come out on the streets like this, indulge in violence until someone hears them.
Nowhere was monarchy a demand anyways. So, this discussion is
I didn't hear that either.
And those who are
there were
demanding
some calls
a monarchy,
here and there, but not really.
Monarchy. It's a constitutional monarchy.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Which is not possible
I hope
in Nepal.
whatever you wish to comes into effect through a fair and free election process. All right. Thank you very much and congratulations on your new Prime Minister. A quick break. We'll be right back with our top stories.
ट्रस्टेड लॉयर शर्मा जी ने अपने दीवारों पर जेके मैक्स पेंट्स क्या लगवाया? अजीब अजीब बहाने लेकर आने लगे पड़ोसी उनका घर देखने।
हाय शर्मा जी, एक रील बना लूं उस ब्यूटीफुल सी वॉल के पास।
हमारा टॉमी नहीं मिल रहा, यहाँ आया होगा।
मुझे गर्मा गर्म पकौड़े।
जेके मैक्स पेंट्स, खुशियों के रंग।
पे इतना कॉन्फिडेंस, इसलिए बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर। ब्यूटिफुल।
18th सेंचुरी और अभी तक चल रही है।
ज्यादा नहीं चलेगी।
कुछ कहा?
प्रोमिनेंस नहीं,
प्रोमिनेंस।
वाओ, ओरिजिनल।
या स्पेन से लाए थे।
वहीं छोड़ा थे। प्रोमिनेंस नहीं है ना?
प्रोमिनेंस?
मैं कहना चाह रहा था कि प्रोमिनेंस नहीं है।
प्रोमिनेंस मतलब?
प्रोमिनेंस विंडोज, इसमें है हाईएस्ट वेदर रेजिस्टेंस और घर को रखे सेफ फ्रॉम टर्माइट, सीपेज, डस्ट एंड नॉइस। प्रोमिनेंस फॉर द वर्ल्ड यू डिजर्व।
Great news this week on News Caustic. We've got
Thank you for having me.
and also BMC has condemned the building, saying it's too old and too dangerous. And
Myself, Ardh Mard Singh Sharma.
we, you know what? Just watch it, guys. Just watch it. I can't remember. How can I remember? I do the damn thing. How do I remember? Take a look. News Caustic.
Welcome back. Let me cut across to all that news and buzz around the weight loss drug Ozempic and multiple others. But Ozempic itself facing heat right now legally. It's the world's wildest weight loss craze. Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, all promising dramatic slimming. Celebrities flaunting it, influencers swearing by it, and suddenly demand has skyrocketed. But now the dark side is surfacing. Patients across the United States are reporting serious side effects like stomach paralysis, relentless vomiting, blurred vision, crippling fatigue, even long-term gut damage. Over 2 billion worth of lawsuits have been filed against Novo Nordisk, which is Ozempic's maker, the parent company. In fact, those who are suing Ozempic claim that the company has not warned its patients enough about these risks. The company insists that the drug is safe, and if at all you use it as per directions, then there's absolutely no side effects, it's safe. So that's the company's defense. But here you have people now complaining that they almost went blind, that their gut issues are so severe it can't be reversed, and many more. How does Ozempic work? Basically, it's part of a class called GLP-1 receptor agonists. It mimics a natural gut hormone that slows down digestion. It reduces appetite and also helps the pancreas release insulin. So that would mean your blood sugar level stays in check and patients feel full faster, they eat less, and thus the weight loss. Remember, Ozempic was designed as a diabetes drug to control blood sugar levels, but you saw many A-listers giving out their testimonies and showing pictures of their glossy before-after makeovers. A post there that was put out by several people on social media platforms, including the ones we're showing you right here on our screens. It, of course, caught global intrigue, attention all across. Even in India, people there opting for Ozempic, we hear. Oprah, Elon Musk, Rebel Wilson, Sharon Osbourne, Kathy Bates, all linked to the Ozempic buzz. Others like Whoopi Goldberg and Eric Stonestreet have admitted, though, that they switched from Ozempic to the rival drug Mounjaro because they found Mounjaro to be more effective. Only actor Amy Schumer was open about her side effects with Ozempic. Amy Schumer, in fact, said openly that Ozempic left her bedridden and she continued vomiting for a long time. So she decided to ditch it. She put that out on her social media platform as well. Well, we know that closer home, Karan Johar, Bhumi Pednekar, Badshah, we understand that their visible weight loss was resulted in a lot of chatter. People talked extensively as to whether they have taken Ozempic or not, or some weight loss drug. But these actors have completely denied it. Ozempic and similar drugs are now fueling $100 billion weight loss industry. In fact, it's $100 billion weight loss industry. Wonder what the future of this industry would be if these revelations now are going to be resonating across the world, if people who are using Ozempic are going to hear about this. And precisely what our duty here is a news channel here is to report exactly what the allegations are. And Ozempic is accused of not informing their patients enough about the side effects and the risks of this medication. Importantly, should doctors stop prescribing something like Ozempic with immediate effect? Should patients really think twice before chasing this miracle shot? Joining me tonight for a little more is Dr. Parjeet Kaur, Associate Director, Endocrinology and Diabetes, Medanta Hospital. Thanks very much. Ma'am, your take on Ozempic giving side effects such as gut health, your gut completely damaged, blindness, and a host of other things. My only question here is if Ozempic is a drug that is made for diabetes patients, but people are now using it for weight loss. What's the difference? Even if a diabetes patient took it, you would still have the same side effects. Even if a person without diabetes is taking it for weight loss, they are seeing the same side effects. So Ozempic in that sense, going back as per the allegations and the legal notices filed against them, is that they have not informed their patients about the severity of these side effects. And I'm shocked that these drugs are now out there openly recommended by doctors all over.
Right. Yeah, so Nabila, you also told that Ozempic belongs to a class of drug called GLP-1 receptor agonist, in which we have Ozempic, we have oral form of this Rybelsus, which is available in India, and we also have Wegovy. So these class of drugs basically, no doubt, are revolutionary. They are game changers in terms of management of diabetes, obesity, heart diseases, and kidney diseases. But the Ozempic came up initially, and it was initially approved for people only with type 2 diabetes. It wasn't approved for weight loss. Unfortunately, the off-label use became very common, especially in the United States, where celebrities started taking, social media hype began, and people started taking these drugs on their own. Now, the problem is, as you're saying, that why, if given to type 2 diabetes or not without diabetes, side effects remain the same. I totally agree. The main side effects are the gut effects that delays the gastric empty. People experience nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. But when it is used off-label, that means we haven't not studied Ozempic in people without diabetes. We're not sure what's going to happen. That becomes a big problem, that if it's being used off-label. Another problem is that many a time these drugs are being given unsupervised without any prescription. So one has to know the side effects and how to manage it if it is given under proper supervision with individualized treatment, where the people, we know that benefits are going to be much more than the minor risk. That is where the drug is going to work. If it is just going to given for weight loss and without any supervision and prescription, definitely it creates a problem because people do not know how to manage.
But even if the doctor is prescribing it, ma'am, the side effects are going to remain the same. So that's the worry.
Yes. So side effects remain the same, but it's very well supervised. We start with a very small dose and gradually escalate. When the people lose follow-up, they do not come back, they start escalating their days on their own because they get restless. They just want to lose weight and they start taking higher doses. That becomes a big challenge, and that where the side effects become very prominent, especially the gut effects. Now the eye effects which are coming up, the case reports are coming up. These are now the rare case reports, still not proven in the robust clinical trials, but definitely the warnings have started coming up by the European Association, FDA also, that semaglutide, the salt which is contained in Ozempic and Wegovy, does cause rare case reports. Hence, a baseline evaluation is must. So that's why supervision and a prescription by endocrinologist matters, because we do a baseline check, we do an eye exam, we do a baseline check whether the patient is suitable for this medicine or not. When it's being given without any prescription off-label, definitely these problems are going to come up, and that is something we need to discourage.
Parjeet, thank you very much. We needed a little assurance that a drug like this is not absolutely unsafe if it is monitored, but yet at the same time it has side effects, so we've got to be cautious and do not take it if you do not have diabetes. I think that's the most basic. If this is a drug meant for diabetes, it's not a weight loss drug, it's meant for diabetes, then stick with it, stick with the labels. Now, I'm not too sure if the lawsuit will also hold waters, because those who are suing the company, whether they took it for weight loss or diabetes, we are also not clear on that. But multiple lawsuits filed against Ozempic. I just hope the company comes clean. And if it's true the side effects are severe, then it should be banned with immediate effect. Thanks very much, Doctor, for joining us. All right, let me cut across to our top stories on day tonight. Let's start with Prime Minister in Manipur. For the first time after the unrest. Prime Minister Modi begins a major Northeast outreach this weekend. According to the Prime Minister's office, from September 13th to 15th, he will be covering 5 states: Mizoram, Manipur, Assam, West Bengal and Bihar. He arrives in Mizoram on morning of September 13th, then proceeds to Manipur in the afternoon. By evening, he'll be in Assam, where he will stay in Assam for 2 days before heading to West Bengal and Bihar. Now, the spotlight, of course, is Prime Minister Modi in Manipur. This will be Prime Minister's first visit since the ethnic clashes in Manipur that broke out between the Meitei and Kuki-Zo communities in May 2023, nearly 2 years. 60,000 people were displaced, many still living in relief camps. More than a year later, Modi is expected to be meeting with some of the families there in Churachandpur and Imphal. In Assam, on the other hand, the ground is simmering. Prime Minister Modi, we believe, is all set to announce some developmental projects in Assam. But even before that could happen, just a day ago, Assam erupted in huge protests. Nearly 20,000 people in Assam, members of the Moran community, marched through the Tinsukia demanding scheduled tribe status, a promise that they say Modi himself made 10 years ago but has not fulfilled it. This protest there, led by All Moran Students Union, have set a 72-hour deadline for Prime Minister Modi to ensure that they get the scheduled caste status. If their demand isn't met, then they warn of economic blockade, and that they'll start on September 15th, they say in Assam. In Assam, Modi is expected to inaugurate infrastructure projects, review flood control measures, and address a massive rally there, pitching jobs, connectivity, peace as his government's vision for that region there. He wants to basically realize it. The stakes are high, of course, but the outreach also signals intent. We know that Prime Minister Modi is going to Manipur 2 years later. There's been a lot of talk from the opposition asking why now, what's the point going so late? Well, that said, the intent here is for the government to heal wounds in Manipur, an area that has been struck with ethnic violence for decades, and the last 2 years has been the worst. Manipur, of course, at this point is the focus. Prime Minister Modi is intending to meet a lot of affected families and areas there. So this is the government now trying to unlock some new opportunities for people of Manipur and for the people of Assam and beyond. Modi's Northeast tour here could really mark a step towards reconciliation and stability in a region that's long yearning for both. All right, coming across to Bihar. Election battle in Bihar has gone digital and ugly. Campaigns are no longer limited to speeches or manifestos. They are now entered the world of artificial intelligence. In the latest controversy, the Congress in Bihar has released a 36-second AI video that sparked quite some outrage across. The clip posted from the official Bihar Congress handle shows Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a dream sequence with his late mother, Hira Ben. And that video is also labeled as AI generated. The video depicts an AI Modi winding down after boasting about vote chori. Just as he falls asleep, a figure resembling his mother appears, scolding him for dragging her name into politics before he wakes up in shock. The BJP, of course, has slammed this, calling the video as absolutely disgusting and an insult to every mother and sister in this country. The party has demanded an apology, accusing the Congress of crossing all limits just ahead of Bihar polls. Facing backlash, Bihar Congress has also ordered an inquiry now into who approved this clip. Wishy-washy reactions coming in from the Congress. Well, you have Pawan Khera, senior leader of the Congress, who's openly defended this campaign, sharpening this digital clash.
Where is the disrespect? Where is the disrespect shown to his late mother? Show me one word, one gesture, one signal, anywhere that you see disrespect. It's the duty of parents and their right to educate their children. She's only educating her child. Now, if the child thinks it's disrespectful towards him, I mean, it's his headache, not mine, not yours. Why is it that the BJP tries to make an issue out of everything, and tries to generate fake sympathy? There is no sympathy on these things anymore. Mr. Modi.
All right, cutting across to Google. Google has told its employees, get on board with AI or risk being left behind. Google CEO Sundar Pichai has stressed that mastering AI is essential for Google's future. Engineers must use the company's in-house models like Cider and Gemini for coding. Now, already nearly a third of Google's code is AI generated. Managers are tracking usage, they're in fact tying AI usage to employees' performance reviews and updating job roles to include AI problem solving. So here's a sharp message from the Google employers that all employees must indulge in their in-house AI units and nothing from outside. So Google employees cannot use ChatGPT, as basic as that. The company has spent now $2.4 billion on startup Windsurf to boost agentic coding, while urging every division to bring AI into their daily workflow and ensure that they use AI for better output. Some staff people are also wondering if at all this is push for productivity indeed, or in a way a disguised warning from Google that AI is all set to take your jobs, be prepared. But the direction is of course quite clear. At Google, AI isn't optional anymore, and more tech and media giants are now moving the same way. You either adapt to AI or risk being fired. Now, a storm is brewing at Tata Consultancy Services. A senior employee, after 30 years of service, says that he was forced into early retirement. No severance given, no compensation, just about 20 minutes to decide his future, we hear. This is the report. In fact, the revelation comes through a Reddit post by his sibling. A 50-year-old man, he says, faces a bleak job market. He spent 30 years in TCS and finally was asked to leave with barely any notification. And this man, according to them, was a professional. His experience was clearly overlooked. The post there on Reddit questions, is this how companies repay decades of loyalty? In Noida and Kolkata, protests erupted. The All India IT and IT's Employees Union Association there accusing TCS of pushing out staff. Placards reading, don't resign. The message is clear, of course, that workers fear that they could be next. So employees actually came out stressing that this is unethical for a person who spent so many years in a company to be pushed out like that arbitrarily. Well, this is more than corporate restructuring. It's very sad because we're talking about loyalty and livelihood at the same time and dignity of that person. Online anger is certainly growing. But the question, of course, at this point is retirement age really lowering? This story reflects a wider reality. Corporate retirement is edging closer to 50 from the accepted 60 age bar that was earlier. Professions like law or medicine, age still means, the older you are, you have more experience. So that said, in tech and corporate roles, it seems like the opposite is true. Many firms see mid-40s staff as too expensive, costly, too slow to adapt, and they want to replace them with younger and cheaper teams, given more resources and attention. Well, this is sad. This has pushed many mid-career professionals into setting up small consultancies, we hear, as per some expert accountants who say that this is their only fallback option. Chartered accountants saying that LLP registrations are rising, not from passion, but from compulsion. A wave of entrepreneurship is emerging, but all born out of desperation at this point because they're not sure if they will last in their job. Well, on that note, I wrap this edition here. Thanks very much for watching. Do have a great weekend.
Uttarakhand has been witnessing heavy continuous rainfall this season.